Okay, guys, let's see. We getting this? Yeah, there we go. All right, we're live. We're ready to go. Now, I want to talk whatever you guys want to talk about. Of course, this time of year, especially once you get well into February like this, all the focus starts getting put on Wrestlemania. But we can talk about whatever it is you guys want to talk about. The big thing is I'm going to post in the community section later a poll. I'm curious what you guys think as far as Roman's eventuality in WrestleMania. Regardless of how this all fleshes out and who faces who on which nights and everything, do you think he leaves still with the title, or does he finally drop it to somebody? I'll post keep an eye on the community tab later. I meant to do that earlier, but I'll post a poll about that. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Hi, Red Wolf. Hi, Lobster. Thoughts on Jeff Hardy? Whenever I think about Jeff Hardy, I just think about how sad it is that he was never able to beat his demons. Insanely talented guy, very innovative, a lot of fun to watch. I mean, had a great look. The different things he did between gear, makeup, everything over the years. I mean, everything about him was fun to watch. But talk about somebody who just never could put those demons away. Holy crap. It's really a shame. Streams lagging? Not on my end, Brit Pro. I've got a feed here so I can watch. It's good on my end. I'm Heel says, honestly, I think Roman should retain the title and Rock should win the title off of Seth Rollins. Really? Really? See, I'm ready for Roman to drop the belt. I have been for some time. And it's nothing against Roman. I like him. I just... hold on a second. Are you guys... Yeah, I just got a notice about it on here. That YouTube was not receiving data from it. That's got to clear itself up because I've got plenty of signal on my end. So, yeah, I don't... Oh, and now it just came and said your YouTube stream health is excellent. So it's just YouTube having a server issue. But I've been ready for him to drop the belt for some time. And again, it's nothing against him. I just think we've done all we can with that. And his abbreviated schedule, I've never had a problem with a champ having an abbreviated schedule. I have an issue with a champ having an abbreviated schedule for this long of a reign. I don't see any reason to put a belt on Rock. He's not going to stay in wrestling. So I really couldn't see them having him beat Seth for the belt. Brother E says, what's your thoughts on Sting retiring in a few weeks? I think it's impressive how long he's gone and had performed on such a high level at this age. No doubt. He's about the same age as me. It's amazing. I mean, I know what the business did to my body, and I didn't wrestle, 100th probably of the hours in the ring that Sting did. I can't even, nothing but respect for him. And right up until the end here, I mean, he's been wrestling at a good rate. He puts on some matches. Okay, nobody else is getting lagging? Okay, good. Sibaka says, I'm ready for Cody to get the title. A lot of people are. And right now, I'm fine with that. Excuse me. I'm not a Cody fan per se. And again, when I say that, guys, understand that's not dumping on anybody. It's just everybody's got their own personal favorites. And I like the guy. He's not one of mine. I mean, my favorite guys, the guys I'd like to see with the strap in there right now are Orton. I want to see him get another title run. I love KO. I love Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre. But the way everything, we've been leading into everything and the way this has all been set up, I think you got to give the title to Cody now, don't you? Lobster says, dude, I want LA Knight to win a title soon. A lot of people do, including Brax, my son. And I say that because, we have over at our other channel that's we've been posting on for years. Everybody knows Brax to be my son, but we have we have folks here that are here just for the wrestling. That's his favorite. He's been big on LA Knight ever since he hit the scene here in WWE. As somebody else had mentioned the other day, I wonder if his age has something to do with it. I mean, being an older guy, if they're hesitant to put it on him. But I don't think that would be fair. Because they put it on older guys who have a long legacy, in the big time behind them. So what's the difference? Age shouldn't be an issue. Oh, Cody versus Orton would be a great food. Great food. I'm a fat guy. That's Freudian right there. Everything, if it comes close to being edible, I'm going to use that terminology. A great feud. Yes, couldn't agree more. Cody and Randy Orton would be amazing. Randy Orton and Drew will be an amazing feud. And of course, you guys know too how I'm a big R-Truth fan. And I like that they're setting things up now for him to get some push as well. I like that a lot. I mean, they got some good things set up for him now. I'm Heel says, but that's exactly why I want Rock and Roman to win at Mania. It adds more to the story. Plus, imagine it would cause conflict between Cody and Seth Rollins, and they can win the titles back at Mania 41. See, I disagree. I don't think it would add a lot to the story. I think it would, just my opinion, I think it would take the story in a weird direction, especially with Rock. Because, again, he's got mega commitments outside of wrestling. So if you did that, you would have two champions, both The Rock and Roman, barely wrestling at all. Your two top guys. I wouldn't get behind that. Javi says, too bad Ted got locked up so they can't do a legacy reunion. Yeah, I know, right? Mago says, I think Braun Breaker should take the title off Gunther. I'm dying for them to bring Braun Breaker up. Didn't he just, I just saw something. I didn't get to watch any of NXT last night, but I always go back through and like on the WWE site and check the clips and stuff. Him and, Baron Corbin just won the NXT tag belts, didn't they? Which is really cool because I like both those guys. But on the other hand, it might suck a little bit because if they've just put a strap on Braun, you would think that means he's not coming up to the main roster anytime soon. Well, thanks, Lance. I appreciate that. Chrome Abyss says putting a belt on Rock in 2024 would be very sad, even by WWE standards. Yeah, anything's possible. You never say never with WWE, that's for sure. Some of the stuff they've come up with over the years, but I would agree. Well, and again, especially, and not even an age thing or anything like that. He's got too much other stuff going on, and we have a champion right now who carries a very, very light schedule. And even if Roman drops his belt, do you want Rock picking up a belt and having that same thing again? Lobster says, man, Braun Breaker is going to be such a huge star. So excited for him. I think he's certainly got the look, certainly got the pedigree. Man, and I'm not talking about the finisher. You can't come from a better background. Well, we've got a lot of guys with great familial backgrounds right now with the, all the members of the NOI family that are still wrestling, and of course Cody Rhodes, and so there's Randy Orton. There's a lot of great legacy in near the top at WWE right now. Javi says, watching AEW has been very weird lately. I watch AEW here and there. Now with being able to have this where I get to chat and talk wrestling with you guys all the time, I'm going to be watching more. And in my limited experiences with AEW, watching it, it seems like the top end guys, the name guys, put on the matches that you would expect, good matches. But as soon as you get to mid card, I've seen some really, really rough wrestling, some really green looking wrestling. That surprised me. Oh, guys, too, if you got a moment, please hit that like button on the stream. It just helps get the word out there. I for years I've been forgetting to remind people to do that, and we noticed at the other channel that it does seem to make a difference with getting the word out to people. We're just talking about Sting, Austin. We're just talking about Sting. It's amazing. It's absolutely stunning to me that Sting has been able to do what he's been able to do for all these years and do it at this level. Just absolutely shocking. I think him and I are the same age, if I remember right, and I can't even imagine that schedule he's cut. Let me see. Let's see. Sting's age. Holy shit, he's older than me. Damn, that's really saying something. I'm 62, he's 64. He's still doing that stuff. Unbelievable. Brother E says, my only gripe with Sting is he didn't have that extensive WWE run. That's true. I really, really wanted that Undertaker match at Mania, and they had it set up in 2015, but they gave it to Triple H. And and that whole thing with Sting was entirely the WWE's fault. They just fumbled the ball all over the place on that. That was terrible. That was terrible. And then having Triple H bury him, that was stupid. Cassidy says, so I had thoughts on the situation with Rollins needing time off to heal. At WrestleMania, it should be Rollins versus Priest with Rollins winning. Then JD destroys him and Priest cashes in and wins. Yeah, that's right. You know what? I wasn't even thinking about that, Cassie. We've still got Damian Priest working out there with the Money in the Bank, huh? I forgot about that. It's a good time for me anyway, I believe, to have really started getting back into wrestling again because, man, got a lot of really, really good workers in there right now. Just checking to make sure everything's okay. Stream's good. Really good workers in there right now. Damian Priest being one of them. And that DIY, that was cool. Well, of course, they got themselves props from me because they were the ones who came in and saved my boy R-Truth, because I love Truth. And them running in to save him, that was good stuff. Hey, HD. Chrome Abyss says, if they do the Rock and Roman versus Seth and Cody, does that mean they're going to have Roman, Seth, and Cody work both nights? I think there's a real good chance, and I hadn't even, for whatever reason, I hadn't even considered that until you guys started bringing it up in the comments on some of the videos and some of the shorts. But yes, I think now there's probably a real good chance those guys work 2 nights. Yeah. Yep, I hadn't even thought about that, but I would say it's very likely. Austin Cogswell says, what about the Big Boss Man? Ray Traylor? What about him? Good dude. I mean, he had a fun career. He played that role so extremely well. He was fun to watch. Brother E says, I think it would be hilarious if R-Truth beat Damian for Money in the Bank and he cashes in on Judgment Day for the tag titles. I can see that happening. I hope they put some sort of strap on R-Truth. And we talk about guys, getting up there in years, and Truth is as well. And it would be cool to have him get some sort of a title run or some sort of really cool push before it's all said and done. The guy, because again, we all know him for the comedy bits. He's a good wrestler, a really good wrestler. Dragon says a tag match would be good for Seth in order to work around the injury. True, good way to protect yourself when you're hurt. Absolutely. Sibaka says, I think CM Punk and Brock really threw a wrench into their plans, so they needed the draw power. Just my opinion. That's actually, I hadn't thought about that either, and that's really solid. You know that, guys? Yeah, you got to figure, and I hadn't even thought about that. Going into WrestleMania, they're down 2 huge draws. I had not even thought about that. That's 100% right. They probably did get sent scrambling. With Punk's injury and, of course, the nightmare around Vince and Brock Lesnar and everything. Had not even thought about that, but I'm sure that's true. Mego says R-Truth is 52 but looks 35. He's in amazing shape. Amazing shape. I know, the guy doesn't seem to age. That pisses me off. Cassidy says the reason being is because Rollins needs to drop the title, and Priest only has until July to cash in, and he can't take the title off someone that quick, so I think Priest needs the Mania match. That's solid. But I had, that was a really good point that was brought up, and I hadn't thought of before. They must have been sent right in, management had to have been sent right into a tailspin that close together, losing Punk and Lesnar. Jeez. Austin says, I miss Santino. He was fun, wasn't he? Santino Marella. I've seen a couple interviews with him, too. He's fun. He's fun to watch in interviews, even. John Cena. Yeah, he had some great stuff. That's one of my all-time favorites of the legendary comedy spots or comedic points with John Cena. Dragon says, I never thought that a 67-page lawsuit would be more horrific than any horror movie. That's believable, though. Especially if you get named in it. Brother E says, so regarding The Rock, from what I heard, it's planned to set up multiple matches, really. 3 matches to be exact. The plan seems to be a tag match in Mania 40, a match in SummerSlam, and Rock versus Roman at 41. I could see that, and that would, obviously be something that The Rock could fit into his schedule. And then maybe you could do The Rock versus Roman at 41 as a head of the table match and not have to have it tied up with one of the belts. Because, come on, we all know it'd be ridiculous to put a belt on The Rock at this point. Yeah, I could see that. I'm Heel says TNA revived itself by being smart. How do you mean? I'm not arguing the point with you. I'm just saying, how do you mean? What do you mean? Lennon says, I miss... Who is that? Haiti. I'm trying to think. I think autocorrect got you. I'm trying to think of who you meant. Haiti Vanson? Remember his feud with The Undertaker. I think autocorrect got you on that. Lobster says, opinion on Chad Gable. I feel like that dude could be one of the all-time greats. He's got everything going for him. I mean, he's entertaining as hell on the mic. Obviously an amazing athlete. He's kind of like Bob Backlund, but with personality. If you think about it. He's got that solid amateur background. Crazy in crazy condition and everything. Yeah, that's how I've always seen him. And I love Bob Backlund, but one thing Bobby didn't have was a lot of personality. Finally, near the end there, when he came back and he was doing the crazy gimmick where he just became a crazy middle-aged dude, that finally showed some personality. But prior to that, in his actual title run, not much. It wasn't as important back then, but boy, he just didn't have any personality at all. Brother E says Santino was underappreciated for his time. Definitely a great wrestler and comedian. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he could. Oh, yeah, he could work the hell out of a match too. And that whole snake. I don't even remember the machinations he went through to get the snake bite. But that was great stuff. The Cobra attack. Chroma Abyss says, Curtis, you should do a tier list ranking every WWE champion. Yeah, we could do that because I've been around. Well, I've been around for all of them. Buddy Rogers was first, and of course I remember this. Well, I shouldn't say I remember distinctly, but I was alive for Bruno to take the belt off Buddy, and then Bruno, Sammartino in wrestling, and Roberto Clemente in baseball were my first 2 sports heroes. Dragon says, honestly, I like heel rock better than face rock. I think I do too. I think I do too. Really, Javi says, just don't talk about Santino in front of Cornette. Corny's got a problem with Santino too. Let's be fair. Corny's got a problem with a lot of guys. He's fun to listen to. Don't get me wrong. I like listening to Jim Cornette, and he is just an absolute encyclopedia on the business, but he can be annoying as well. I'm Heel says when they finally went back to being called TNA for one, and they were booking talent really good and getting them over. That's what I mean. Oh, okay, very good. I haven't watched a lot of TNA, so I don't know, but very good. Brother E says, so did you hear that Undertaker's now a YouTuber? No. Literally started his own channel talking about stories and giving his insight on current events. That's cool. It's called 6 Feet Under with Mark Calloway. That's perfect. That's perfect. No, I didn't hear about that. That's really good. I love that guy. When people ask me that, who would, if you could have had one guy to work one match with, that would have been your dream match. That's the dude right there. Gunther is Cornette's current favorite wrestler. Is he, Mago? I've come around a little bit on Gunther. I'm still not. And again, this is just a personal preference thing. Nothing against the guy. I don't know, that whole stoic gimmick just doesn't really work that well for me. I think he's a really good worker, better than I thought. When they first brought him in, I wasn't that impressed, but once you get to watch him a little bit, he really can work. Jacob says he smacked the crap out of Santino for not being afraid of the boogeyman in OVW, aka violating kayfabe, basically. Oh, really? I hadn't heard about that, Jacob. I'm surprised. Yeah, you want to stay with kayfabe, absolutely, especially in something like that when you're putting somebody over as as a literal monster, not just the biggest, strongest dude, but a monster. I'm Heel says, Curtis, your theme song should have been that one song, and the lyrics are "I'm missing you like candy." Yeah, I used a few different songs over the years. Nicholas, what's your favorite Hulk Hogan's matches? I was never a big fan of Hogan just because I think his wrestling ability was just really not much. But I will say, I was always shocked, and it will always stay with me, that at WrestleMania, when Hogan wrestled Ultimate Warrior, they put on a hell of a match. Because those were two guys whose wrestling ability was nothing to get excited about, to put it mildly. But they came together for that match, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I can rewatch that match to this day. So that would be my favorite of his. Brother, he says, Gunther is amazing, and he might be stoic, but that dude can cut promos on the mic. Did you watch his promo with Jay last week, or his promo with Seth and Miz? Gunther can talk tons of shit. Well, that's what I mean. I've seen more of that recently. I've seen more personality coming out of him. And again, nothing against him. So far, he hasn't, for me, as far as favorites, as I've told you guys, I always rank favorite wrestlers by just knowing because it happens to me a lot, if wrestling's on and I'm doing things. If I hear their name, do I stop to watch? And Gunther hasn't reached that level for me yet. Now, there's some guys, if I hear them talk about Kevin Owens, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and watch. If it's Randy Orton, I'm stopping what I'm doing and I'm going to watch. So that's I know it's weird, but that's like my barometer. Brit Pro Gamer says, used to watch wrestling with my old man. He had multiple sclerosis. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So every month I'd show him the latest pay-per-view. He sadly passed a week before this year's Rumble. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's too bad. I'm really sorry to hear that. We should have had some great memories. Wrestling, for a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of individual relationships, as wrestling's been a real glue that holds things together. Austin says, thoughts on Toby Keith passing away. I mean, I don't know what you're going to have for thought. It's tragic. That's too bad. I'm not a country music fan, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it's a shame. Chrome Abyss says it's crazy how Cody rebuilt himself from Stardust. You're right. That really is. That's impressive the way he rebuilt himself from Stardust. Because yeah, Stardust wasn't wasn't anything to get excited about. I mean, it is difficult to get a gimmick that's, well, how do I say this politely, that lags and then still go on to big things. But then you could say, well, Dr. Isaac Yankum DDS, who became Kane, so it's happened. But yes, it is. It's a tough thing to do. And yeah, and built the whole company in the process. He did. He absolutely did. Hey, Jack. Austin says, would you take 50 spears from Roman Reigns or chops from Big Show? You're going to take 50 of either one of those. You're going to be a hurting unit. Actually, considering that Roman hits those spears perfectly, if you're in sync with the guy, taking a spear isn't that bad. I mean, it might knock the wind out of you a bit, but the chops are always going to sting. Chops are just going to do that. They're going to chop you up. Your chest is going to get nice pink, purple, maybe bleed a little bit if you take enough of them, and they sting like hell. So if you're saying if both moves are done perfectly, I'd rather take the spears. Yeah, 50 Goldberg spears, that's a different thing. Now you're talking about somebody who you can't trust is going to hit it safely. So yeah, that's a whole different thing then. Among other things, yeah, Jack. And it was brought up, Jack said, we're talking about the audible, they're pulling on Rock and Roman. Somebody else had brought it up, and I hadn't even thought about it, but yeah, they had to have been scrambling because you lost Punk and Lesnar. Boom, boom. I mean, had to be, you would imagine, for sure, two of the big draws, two of the big plans for your biggest show of the year, and you lost them both within a couple weeks of each other. Red Wolf says, as a wrestler, I can confirm chops suck. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to put you in the hospital. They just sting. You just get good and sore. Your chest gets to be like raw meat. That's, of course, that's the age-old tradition is chopping up the greeners. I have, and I was one of these guys that no matter how far I got in my career, it's always fun to screw with a green guy. It's always fun to screw with greeners. But some guys get way too carried away with it. I'm not going to injure anybody. I never injured anybody in my career. I'm extremely proud of that. But chopping them up a little is fun. And I'll have to see. I've got a whole stack of VHS tapes here. And I've got the equipment to transfer them. I'll see if I can find it. I came back after I'd officially retired for a 100th show for a group I helped to found. And they fed me a greener, and they told me to go out there and light them up a little bit. And I have it on a tape somewhere. Dragon says, I'm really impressed with Logan Paul in WWE. He seems to be taking the business seriously. He's pretty good as well. Have to agree with you. And it's not something it's like pulling teeth for me to have to agree with that because I don't like Logan Paul. Being a YouTuber from way back and being familiar with the idiocy that he's done over the years, I was never a fan. But you're not wrong. I mean, he's really seems to have taken the business seriously. He's certainly a phenomenal athlete. You got to give the kid that. Yeah, he's doing a good job. So I would have loved to have seen him just crash and burn at it. I really would have. But he didn't. I'm Heel says, Curtis, would you rather be in a Hell in a Cell match with Taker or TLC match with the Dudley Boys and Hardy Boys with Edge as your partner? Again, if I was told I could work one match, a dream match with somebody, it would be Mark Calloway. It would be The Undertaker. So that's an easy one. Jack says, I can't stand Logan Paul. I actually hate him, but the son of a bitch is a star in the ring. He is. Yeah, I never liked the kid. Never liked either of the Paul brothers. And as I just said, I was honestly rooting for him to crash and burn as a wrestler. I wanted to, I wanted to see him fail, but he's actually really good in the ring. He really is. I am shocked. I'm not sure what you mean, Javi. Do you have a favorite match from any company? I'm not sure what you mean. Do I favorite match of my own or favorite match I've watched or May Young? Oh, jeez, Austin. May Young. Yeah, you gotta give that old woman credit. She was what was she, 78 and still taking these stupid bumps? I think who was it? Buddy Ray. Bubba Ray was talking about they were doing a tag match or something, and he had I forgot what movie I'd do, but it was a pretty solid bump, and she was going to take it, and he was freaked out. He's like, I'm not going to break this old lady's hip or snap her in half or something. And I guess Fabulous Moolah said, oh, don't worry about it. She can handle it. And so he, whatever it was, he delivered it to old Mae Young, and she took it like a champ. Mago says the Kaido and Big Mom team felt like Kane and Undertaker teaming up back in the day. It did a little bit. For those of you who don't know, it's from One Piece. Oh, what's my favorite all-time match I've watched? Probably would be the Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell. I remember watching that. I couldn't even go to. I had such an adrenaline rush from that match. I couldn't even go to sleep that night. And Dragon says, I will say that Logan seems to have grown up as a person. I agree with that, too. He's not nearly as insufferable as he used to be. No, I do agree with that. There is something to be said for maturity. And I guess I always say it tentatively, because when you've seen somebody be such a douche, you're always thinking, well, we could go back the other way. But in fairness, he has shown a lot of growth. And I assume it's still this way, because it was forever. You can't be too much of a douchebag no matter what your name is in a wrestling locker room. Because a lot of guys back there don't give a shit what your name is. So if you can't grow up and mature a little bit, there's going to be a problem. Brobort said he gave Mae Young a stout power bomb. Is that what it was? Off the stage to a table. She told Bubba, if you don't go 100%, I'll kick your ass. I knew it was something like that, Brobort. I couldn't remember what it was. That's amazing. Wasn't she? She was in her late 70s, right? At that time? She was a crazy old lady, Mae Young. You had to respect her. And remember the whole thing she was doing with good old Mark Henry, sexual chocolate? That was amazing. That was great stuff. Oh, me too, Jack. Me too, 100%. Jack says, still get chills watching that Hell in a Cell, even knowing what's coming. Yeah. It doesn't matter how many times I watch it. That was just, those guys put on a freaking show. Look Fun says, we hate Punk and Logan, yet they both can wrestle. See, I can't go that far. See, I really dislike Logan. I've never hated Punk. I don't care for him as a person. But he's never crossed over from what I've heard about him. And this was long before this started taking off on the internet and stuff, because I never met Punk, but back in the day I was working with everybody, and everybody knows everybody. I was never impressed with him. Just the things that have been told me from people whose opinions I trust, never liked him. Don't hate him. And yes, he can work. Absolutely can work. And then when he would do things on the mic, I would see clearly reflected some of the things I'd been told about him. That's why I never liked him. The Shield versus Evolution was my favorite match. Good times. Good times. Yeah, Brobort when Mae Young gave birth to a hand, yeah. HD says, Punk's entertaining, but starting stuff backstage is just not good. Yeah, and he is entertaining, and he is a good wrestler. It's just all the things I'd ever learned about him caused me to just have no love lost for him. It's, you hear enough things and you can't get past it. It's like I don't root for him at all. Chroma Abyss says, we're all talking about Cody beating Roman, But who do we think will beat Cody for the championship? I'm hoping for if that comes to pass. As I said, I'd like to see Orton get one more run with it. Orton's a blast to me. I love watching him work. I would like to see Kevin Owens get pushed back for a title again. Drew, I'd like to see Drew get pushed for a title. Any one of those three for me. And there are others. I'm probably forgetting someone. LA Knight, yeah, HD. I like watching LA Knight work. Again, he's not as high on my favorites list as he is like for my son. But I wouldn't have a problem with an LA Knight title run. Dragon says, I don't always agree with Punk, but I do think he has some legitimate gripes sometimes. Oh, well, yeah. And I think that's true with anybody. Even if you get labeled as a complainer, there's always going to be some truth. But see, what I see too with a lot of the things Punk complains about is sometimes it seems he's complaining about things that are just part of the business. Whether you like them or not, it's just the way things go. And that's why I had heard that's what I had heard about him from many years ago. Jax, yeah, good point. There are a lot of people now who are title contenders. Feels like only a short time ago it was just Roman. Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of guys who it would be really who would really make sense as a champion. Hold on, Jack. I haven't gotten all the mods haven't come over to the wrestling channel yet, and I see Jackson with us all the time, so I just wanted to put the mod on him. Brobart says, "Who would you like to see jump ship from AEW to WWE?" I haven't watched enough AEW to know the roster well enough. I did see what was that young woman's name? I just saw that clip of from last night's. Oh no, we were talking AEW. I'm thinking NXT. AEW. I don't know. I'd really have to take a look at the roster. I got to start watching more AEW wrestling again with having this channel geared towards wrestling now. I've got to get into it more. Yeah, Brother E says the main event scene is definitely the most competitive right now. And I agree with what Jack said. It was odd. It was like, for a while, you could see Roman just holding onto the belt because there was nobody that just seemed to be pushing for that top spot where it made a lot of sense. Now there's a bunch of guys. Austin says, I love Punk, but Cody is way better than Roman Reigns and The Rock. Yeah, see, I always qualify this. I like Roman Reigns. I just think it's way overdue time for him to drop the belt. And I just don't understand why the WWE went into, and you can tell this was part of the storytelling. They went into this phase of, okay, I think it was just an angle for them. Let's break records with title reigns now. Okay. Gunther held the IC belt forever, and but I will say this. I can't say it's brand new because when Honky Tonk Man had his IC title run and set the record, I wasn't a fan of that. They had a lot of phenomenal workers then, and I never agreed with that booking. And just my opinion, I saw Honky Tonk Man as you got your title contenders here and Honky in the group below, and I've worked on shows with Honky and stuff. I'm not trying to shit on him. That was my opinion. Brobort says, who holds the record for most days as WWE champion is, oh yeah, it's San Martino. His first title run was just under 8 years, 7 years and some odd months. And then his second was just under 3, I think. But yeah, his first title run, I seriously doubt that record will ever be broken. And of course, you got to remember too, Bruno did it back when you wrestled 300 days a year. Do you? I'm heel. I love Honky Tonk Man, by the way, and his gimmick. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. Again, having met him a couple times on shows and stuff, very nice guy, very welcoming. Somebody who's got huge resume behind him, and I never saw him be anything but nice to people, anything but kind to people. Bruno was 7 years and change. Yeah, Jack. Yep. Yeah, it wasn't quite 8, Brother E, but it was 7 years and a good little bit of change. Lobster says, I love how they put Bruno in WWE 2K23. So cool. I know I got to go back to playing that. I played it the once. I posted that, but I want to get back to playing it, especially with 2K24 coming up in March. I want to at least get used to the game. I got to get into 2K23 and play a hardcore match or something. I don't even know. In that game, can you bleed still? I know in some of the games you could bleed. I was good at bleeding. Robort says, isn't Honky Tonk Jerry Lawler's brother? I thought that he had a relationship with somebody. Wasn't it brother-in-law or something? Some of the gang here would know better than me. I don't want to say because I don't remember for sure. Cousins, is that what it was, HD? I know there was a relationship there, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, you can turn blood on? I got to look at that then, Mago. I got to turn that on. I can't have a wrestling match where I don't bleed. To hell. I was so disappointed when they stopped. Well, the wrestling commission in New York, that's why we hardly ever wrestled in New York, because the commission there was a pain in the ass. But they wouldn't let us bleed for ages. It's been going back some time. But my matches were typically so violent that there was a real good chance of hard-way blood, and there was nothing they could say about that. Oh, that was terrible, Austin. Says, seeing Brock Lesnar do a shooting star on Kurt Angle, I'm wondering how he survived. That was horrific looking. That was scary. I thought he was done. Yeah, Jack, you're not allowed blood, says Commission. Oh, in New York, it was even as my career was ending. Fortunately, I knew a couple of the commissioners that would get sent out, and so they would let me get away with a little more because they knew I'd be responsible with it. But you had to even using using a garbage can in the match or anything like that. You had to okay all that with them, and a lot of times they wouldn't let you. But I was fortunate that I actually knew a couple of them. Andrew says, hey, bud, what era and territory did you work? My father was working in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Oh, very cool. More recently, it was all the Northeast. I was in New York, but most of our shows, because of New York's Athletic Commission, was in the New England area. But I first broke in the early 80s down in New Mexico. But back then, there just wasn't a lot of indie work to be had. But, I worked wherever I could. Brother, he says New York Commission is strict and it freaking sucks. Well, what was stupid about the New York Commission? I don't know how many of you guys are aware of this, but used to be, I have one of my old, you used to have to be licensed to be a wrestler in New York. I kept one of my old licenses. I have it somewhere. The last one I had to get before they took that away. But what happened was when wrestling fully came out and, told the world, okay, yes, this is predetermined. We're putting on a show here. All the states backed off and said, okay, you're not going to be under the auspices of the athletic commissions anymore because it's not competition. So you'll be treated as entertainment, except New York. New York held on to that like a death grip because they would charge you for it. There was a flat, at the time it was $1,500 fee to put on a show in New York. And they weren't going to give that up by telling you didn't have to be under the auspices of the athletic commission anymore. Every time Vince brought his shows into New York, they wanted that money. And that's why back in the day, you rarely saw indie shows in New York, because if you got to pay $1,500 off the top, you can't make any money on an indie show. You're already broke. But that's New York likes to legislate everything. Oh, tons of red tape for anything you want to do. Mago says, did WWE or WCW ever make you an offer? No, I never. Well, they wouldn't make me an offer, but I never went to them and even looked into it. I learned from Joe Blanchard, Tully's dad, when I went over to Texas and tried out for the big time. Always appreciated that guy so much. Nothing but love and respect for Joe Blanchard. He sat me down and we were talking about, what I wanted to do in the business and everything. And he told me just the way it was. He said, you have to make your decision on what you want to do with your life. He said, because to get into this business and to have any chance at success in it, you will be on the road 300 days a year. You're going to make next to nothing from the beginning. And it was all things I was willing to do. I was willing to make whatever sacrifice I had to make. I love the business, except for having no family life. And so I made that decision on the ride back to New Mexico from Texas after talking to Joe, that I would just be satisfied with wrestling in indies forever. And with the great years I've had spending time with family, I've never regretted it. Dragon says, what are your thoughts on the Bucks and Omega? As impressive as they are as athletes, I can't take them seriously. See my previous two posts, my other opinion on them. I haven't seen a lot of them. As you said, they're phenomenal athletes. I really need to get to see a bigger body of work from them. And again, that's something I want to do. I'm hoping to do is get more time to watch more wrestling. Rudy Boy, Andrew? No, I don't know who that is. Rudy Boy? Look Fun says, what was your favorite indie promotion to work for? Oh, I don't know. Well, see, World of Hurt Wrestling, and it's still going, started in upstate New York. Still book shows in upstate New York. I helped to found that one. The first night, the opening show for World of Hurt, we were short on workers. I had to wrestle 4 different times. So that one always has a special place for me because, again, I helped to found it. NXT, I've got to watch more NXT, Chromobus. I haven't been keeping up on it enough. I just recently, it was an odd thing. When I first retired from wrestling, it was years that I didn't really want to watch any. And it's still, to this day now, it's a weird thing. Watching it and getting jazzed up watching it and knowing that you can't do it anymore sucks. So I would just stay away from it. And then we had a spell where I just didn't care for the writing in WWE. So that had me staying away. And if I wasn't watching WWE, I wasn't bothering with the others. So now I've really, just over the last couple of years, started getting into it again. And I've got to broaden my horizons, and see more AEW, see if I can watch some NJPW, things like that, and really start to see everything. Big Evil Dutchy says Jim Cornette calls them doing flips and flops and playing their sandbox with the other of their ilk. Oh, the guys we were talking about earlier. Yeah, I'd have to see more of their work. Oh, I was real sore after that night. Looked fun, but you just did what you had to do. There were just so few guys on the card. I wrestled 4 times. My buddy Dave wrestled 4 times. Yeah, and then my buddy Dave wrestled as Danger. Him and I got a reputation for putting on pretty intense matches. So him and I worked constantly, and I can remember I knew his mom. His mom worked day job for the same city that I did, and it would be funny. She'd come to me, and if we were scheduled to wrestle, she'd come and she'd say, I think you and David should take some time off from wrestling each other. You boys get a little too carried away." She was such a sweetheart. Jack says, MJF is so impressive. I think he's an asshole, but damn, is he good. What I've seen of his work, yeah, he's been pretty amazing. And he's either a genuine asshole or he stays in character, in gimmick, all the time because he seems like a dick. And I have nothing but respect for that. Daniel says, would you ever wrestle New Jack? Yeah, I would have wrestled New Jack. I don't have a lot of respect for... Listen, the guy's dead. He can't defend himself, so I'm not going to go into it too deep. I don't have a lot of respect. You're a tough guy because you stabbed somebody a bunch of times? I don't. It doesn't make a tough guy to me. And you go out there and a guy can't count on you to take care of him, like you're willing to take care of that guy? No. MJF's feud with Punk was so good. I've heard that. I never saw any of that, but I've read about it. A lot of people have said that was an amazing feud. I would like to. Chroma Abyss says, have you thought about streaming your reactions to WrestleMania? I would like to see if I can get my schedule to work where we can even stream during Raw and SmackDown sometimes, and like you say, WrestleMania, the pay-per-views. My biggest problem is with all the videos I do, I get up 5:30 every day, 7 days a week, and unless we're on vacation, 7 days a week, 365. So by the time night starts rolling around, I get tired. So that would be my my biggest obstacle. Brother E says MJF is a decent guy. I've met him a few times at the Create Pro Wrestler Training School and the Bev Smith Gym. He's humble but knows how to work a crowd and stay kayfabe when needed. That's what I mean. That's what I say. I have a lot of respect for that. I love that. I told you guys the story. Some of you may not have heard. I don't know if you guys want to hear it again. One of my favorite moments was I was working a regular stop. I think it was Vermont, somewhere in New England. That's how she used to get big crowds. And the promoter there wanted me to play the heel. And he said, play the heel just over the top. He said, make them hate you. Yeah, well, I did. So much so he came to me later and he goes, Curtis, you better take it back a notch. He said, I think we're on the precipice of violence here. They're going to burn this place down. I said, no. You told me to to play the heel over the top, and I did. Oh, I was vicious to those people. And one of my favorite moments was in the parking lot after a match there with a bunch of kids. You guys, if you want me to tell you this story real quick, I'll be glad to. But I don't know if you guys want to hear it again. Hey, there's Em. I know nothing about wrestling, but here I am. You will, Em, you'll hold on. You'll know wrestling after just a few minutes here. And Jack says, yeah, it clearly is an act. Saw the Dr. Bo vid where he got his bones cracked on YouTube. Genuine wit is rare. That's cool. Cash, the real saint, said, do you think the CM Punk pipe bomb was a shoot or scripted? I think, my leaning is I think that one was a shoot. I think that was a legit shoot. I never heard that, nobody. I like that. Reminds me of the story Mick Foley told where he told the promoter, they slashed my tires. And the promoter replies, great, you're over 100%. That's true. That's true. I like that. I've never heard that one before, but that's perfect. Well, I'll tell you quick. What it was is, again, I was playing this heel over the top, vicious, mean. It was the only time in my career I wouldn't sign autographs or anything. And so one night after the show, my buddy Dave and I had driven up together, and of course we had to go out separately because he was a face, I was a heel. And so he's walking way ahead. I drove. He was walking ahead to my car, and walking through the parking lot, and I see, and most of the parking lot was empty. I see a group of a bunch of kids. I don't know, 4, 5, 6 of them, and I knew they were talking about me. And I could hear them. They're all buzzing like with excitement and chatting about something. So I'm waiting to see what they do. And then this one tall, skinny kid breaks off from the group. He's probably, I don't know, 14, really tall. He's almost as tall as me. Might have even been as tall as me, but it couldn't have been more than 13, 14. And he comes up to me. And now this is after months and months of being in there and really doing the heel shit hard. And I got my bag in my hand. He comes up to me and he's got the program. He comes up and he says, can I get your autograph? And so I'm trying not to laugh. So I stop. And I said, what? And he says, can I get your autograph? And so I threw my bag on the ground. I said, what are you telling me? I said, you want me to write my name on your stupid little piece of shit paper here? He goes, yes, please. Like that. I said, well, give it to me. So he hands it to me and I signed it. I give it back to him. I said, now listen. I said, don't ever bother me again. And he goes, okay, I won't. Thank you. And he goes running back. And he went back to his friends. It was one of my favorite moments in the business. And he's yelling, I got it. You guys are pussies. I got it. And the reason I loved it was, I mean, the reality of the situation, no matter what he saw on TV, is an adult going to beat the shit out of a 13-year-old in the parking lot? Probably not. But he's 13. And it was scary. And it was dark in there. And he's seen me come up to that house every month and beat people with barbed wire bats and take horrific beatings and laugh about it. And so he was scared, but he did it anyway. I just thought that was cool. Not, the idea of meeting some second-rate indie wrestler wasn't the point. The point was he was scared to do something, and he found the balls to do it anyway. Johnny says, remember the Paul Heyman shoot on Vince McMahon during the WWF invasion? Yeah, Paul Heyman's done a lot of great shoots. Yeah, but he was scared, but he stood right there. He stood his ground. When I dropped the bag and I got in his face, he flinched, but he didn't like back away from me. He stood his ground. But it was fun. Oh, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget his expression or anything. Another time I did, my best friend, unfortunately, has passed away. He used to come to all the wrestling shows. He loved the wrestling, and of course we were good friends. And his daughter would come. She loved it. At the time she was like 14 or 15. And she brought her boyfriend. She had a new boyfriend. And so my buddy Tom says, Michelle's got a new boyfriend. He's coming to the show. He says, screw with him if you can. I'm like, all right. Well, apparently he was a big wrestling fan. So I come out from my entrance, and it was a pretty long walkway in the entrance. Of course, we had barriers up. And as I'm walking, I see, and Michelle and her new boyfriend are standing right against the barrier. They were out beyond where there were seats. They were just standing there so they could get a good look. And so I come walking by, and I got just about past him. And right before I passed him, I reached out and I grabbed him by the shirt. And I pulled him over to me, and I said, are you fucking eyeballing me, boy? Like that. And he just looked at me and goes, I didn't do anything. I said, if you keep eyeballing me like that, I said, I will gouge your eyes out of their sockets and piss in them. Do you understand me? And I flung him back. It was something like that. And I let him go. And I'm trying not to laugh. And I look, my buddy Tom is hysterical. His daughter, Michelle, she was so mad at me. She goes, of course, she didn't call me. She's one of the few people in the world. More people know me as Curtis than do my real name. She gets to me later. She goes, Rusty, he loved wrestling, and now he doesn't even know if he wants to come back anymore. She's going. But yeah, it was fun. I had a lot of fun times. The invasion had so much potential. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Dragon, that's terrible. Whose wrestling career do you think fell faster, Daniel Pewter or Owen Hart? Pewter, the whole thing with Angle and everything, he just always seemed like, I don't think he would have fit into the world of wrestling anyway. Because he just, too much of an attitude problem. He did come back. Mago, he did end up coming back. Of course, now, again, that was my best friend, Tom. So when he was going out with Michelle, he saw me at times other than in the wrestling persona after that. And I think that eased it a little. But holy crap, that was a great expression on his face. Cashreal Saint says, were you more of a Rock or Stone Cold fan? I got huge respect for both, but I love Stone Cold. I thought that gimmick was brilliant. I love Steve's work. Nobody says the best heels target the kids. Yep. I remember a Ring of Honor show where CM Punk turned to a kid mid-match, and you're like, hope your parents die. That's rough. Oh, that's brutal. You fucking Ginger M says. Paranormal Gaming. Hi, Curtis. The intro of the steel chair when I see it hurts my head. Couldn't imagine how that felt. As I've said, it was. I never understood. You can only go through life knowing physically what nature has given you. And the chair shots hurt. Absolutely. You can't get hit with those are legit metal folding chairs. They're not gimmicked or anything. They're like you have in your house. So of course they hurt. But they didn't hurt as bad as the guys reacted to. Like for one night I did 3 in a row and got knocked out for a moment. And even at that, the pain wasn't that severe. And then it was many years later I find out that the reason I have a giant head, I've shrunk now too. That's thanks to wrestling. But at the time, I was like 5'11", and I have a size 8 head with no hair, which is monstrous. It's literally because I had it measured off the chart for my height. Well, I've had tons of x-rays done for different injuries and stuff. And my bone density throughout my body, and especially in my cranium, is extremely thick. So I just happen to have something that nature gave me. That is the reason probably I'm still sitting here speaking with you guys instead of just rocking in the corner and drooling. I have, as the one doctor said, I have a football helmet under my skin. But yes, it still stung. But I think it just didn't hurt as much as, that's why the other guys would be so amazed that I was doing all this, is because if you didn't have a mutant head, I'm sure it hurt a lot more. Who's the most famous wrestler I've ever been in the ring with? A lot of the ex-stars. My favorite of them was Snuka. Jimmy Snuka was a blast. Tito Santana was a pain in the ass. Not as a person, just he didn't want to do anything. Tito he wouldn't do anything where he thought there was a chance he was going to hurt himself or anything, so it was boring matches. Tony Atlas was fun. Tony Atlas was tough because his memory is as bad as mine. So when you got two guys in there both counting on the other to remember everything, that was kind of rough. Built-in protection, yeah, and it was just a fortunate thing. I'd been telling everybody for years I have a big head because it's filled with brains, and then some jerk had to go take an x-ray and prove that wasn't the case. Cash the Real Saint says, who do you think was the worst guy in the locker room of all time? Well, I don't know those guys personally, but from stories I've read like you have, and whatever I could glean from guys I talked to that were in those locker rooms with him, probably Hellwig, The Undertaker. The Undertaker, I'm sorry. Oh, man. Slap myself for that. I'm sorry, Mark Calloway. The Ultimate Warrior. He sounds like he was just an absolute douche. I from what I've heard from others, and then the stories that we all see here, read, whatever, it was probably Hellwig. Zekov says, what do you think of the current work Drew McIntyre is doing? His current promos are incredible. I agree 100%. We were talking about him earlier. He's on my list of guys I would really like to see get a title run. Owens, Drew, Orton. He's come a long way, McIntyre. He's always been a good worker, but, when he came back, of course, he had the new physique, and the physique looks great now, but he's gotten so much better talking. Gunther, yeah. Gunther's made more of a believer out of me as I've gone. I wasn't big on him at first, but the more I see of him, the more I like him. Hollywood Hogan with his creative control clause. Yeah, he could be, from what I've heard, he could be a pain in the ass too, but I don't think anywhere is near the degree of Hellwig. And if nothing else, Hogan did respect the business. He was looking out for himself as well, but at least he respected the business. And I don't think Hellwig ever did. I don't think he had any respect for the business at all. Cassidy says, oh yeah, Warrior was 100% scummy. He was very anti-gay marriage, but then he proved a comic where he essays Santa Claus. I just had no love for him at all. And that's just like the whole thing with Brock Lesnar. A lot of people didn't like the fact that he was, he would get the belt and he would be a part-timer, blah, blah. And he was only in it for the money, would tell you. But Brock Lesnar has respect for the business and would work his ass off for the business. And if Brock Lesnar was supposed to put you over, you got put over. And he would put you over in the strongest way possible. And just, Hellwig had none of that. Hellwig cared about Hellwig, and he didn't give a shit about the business. Cash says, do you think John Cena should come back and get a little run for like a month and break the record? I always liked Cena. So if they did that, if they gave him a short run, I wouldn't have a problem with it. He's still in great shape. We've seen him recently. He can still work. So, yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with it. It's not something I would be lobbying for, but I wouldn't have a problem with it happening. Oh, I didn't know that. Mago says, thoughts on Brock not liking Moxley / Ambrose. Oh, I didn't know that. He had an issue with Moxley? I don't have any thoughts on it, Mago, because that's the first time hearing that. I didn't know that one. Random Lobster says, controversy aside, Brock is one of the best sellers I've ever seen. Couldn't agree with you more. He made people look incredible. Yep, and go out of his way to put you over. Brock worked his ass off in that ring. Every time. Again, maybe he wasn't making as many appearances as people like, but if he was on the card, you were going to get all he had. I nothing but respect for him. Nobody says Lesnar would also sell his ass off for you if he liked you. Man made Bryan and Styles look like gods. Roman looked great. Rollins, not Moxley. That's what I'm hearing. I didn't know that. Oh, look at the way he put over Drew in that Rumble when he took the kick from him. I mean, he put him over, and that was the same night he Keith Lee. And all he did with Keith, but you got to remember, Brock Lesnar's your monster. So when Keith Lee starts coming down the aisle, and you've got your monster in the ring, and he goes, "That's a big boy right there." You just put him over. That's all you got to do, because you're the monster. And the monster just recognized you. And same thing with what he did. I mean, he made Drew look so strong. I got nothing but respect for Brock Lesnar. Jack says, I'm still torn on Cena. His mic work is phenomenal, sure. As his worth this, as he was never the best wrestler. He had some great matches, obviously, too, but I don't feel it. Was he one of the top technicians? Nah. But I think he was good at what he did. And the thing I can say about Cena, I think he worked really well within his limitations. And see, that hits home for me because I didn't have the athleticism of a lot of the guys. So I would try and get all I could out of what I could do. And I think Cena did that well. Well, guys, I got to go. Dinner's just about done. You know me. I'm a fat guy. I don't miss dinner. Thank you for the stream. We're going to have these on the regular. I love talking wrestling, especially with the Wrestlemania coming up. We'll have more and more. And also just, watch for, aside from the videos I post, I keep posting shorts on stuff that's going on just because I want to get you guys' feedback on it and everything. So just watch for them. But this is a good time. I appreciate you all hanging out with me. I appreciate all the good conversation. And another thing I really enjoy about this is I learned so much more about the current business and what's going on because you guys got your finger on the pulse of it better than I do. I've really got to step up my game that way. Well, thanks, I'm Heel. Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for being with me, and I will talk to you guys as soon as I can.